A beautiful moment there shared between Jack Grealish and, of course, Finlay, who we know was the man who inspired that very famous World Cup celebration from Jack Grealish. I wonder if he's promised him another celebration if he scores today against Everton. We will find out. But let's talk about today's show. Final one of 2022. And what a show we have in store for you, of course, joined by the legend that is Shaun Goater, the legend that is David James, and a very warm welcome, his first appearance on Matchday Live, England and Lancashire cricketer, and, of course, a World Cup winner, Mr. Phil Salt. What an absolute pleasure to have you on. We were saying, Shaun, we should all bow.
We should. Hey, got royalty. Hey, we've got royalty here.
Don't entertain him. Phil, one key bit I missed out there, of course, as well. Big City fan. I wondered, what have you made of City's season so far?
I think we're playing well. I've not got to too many games this year. I think I've only got to the 3 because I've been overseas. But we've played well. Arsenal are obviously top of the log at the minute. But I think the way that we're playing, I think, what we've proven over the last few years is we've got the longevity in the squad to outlast anyone.
Absolutely, and I guess that's going to be key. And as well, what is key is the start we've had, Shaun. First game back in the Carabao Cup against Liverpool won. Yeah. Then, of course, we won our game against Leeds. It was important to hit the ground running, wasn't it?
It was, and the Liverpool game was one of those where you're thinking, you won a few games to get into your rhythm, but it was for both teams. And what was great is, City performed really well, and it was a good marker because everybody was sort of like, where exactly are we? Liverpool were also thinking, where are they? And City just seemed to be gaining that momentum now. Leeds game comes up, could also be a tricky one because Leeds are in your face pressing, and we just seem to keep Leeds at arm's length. It's almost like you stay right there, and we'll just control this game. So brilliant performance, and I anticipate the same again today.
Fingers crossed we'll keep those wins going indeed. Well, we're going to get into our team news straight away. Remember, it's one of the first places you can get our starting 11, and Pep Guardiola has chosen these players to take on Everton at the Etihad Stadium. 3 o'clock kickoff, and we begin in goal, of course, with our number 1, although he wears the number 31. It is Ederson. Rico Lewis keeps his spot once again, coming in at right back. A centre-half pairing again, similar to what we played against Leeds, a pairing of Manuel Akanji and John Stones, and again at left back, Nathan Ake. Rodri, for me, who's been colossal all year. I'm going to do a little focus on him in a bit. He, of course, is in the holding role alongside Kevin De Bruyne, who captains the side. Bernardo Silva returns to the starting 11 for Ilkay Gundogan. And a forward 3, only change there is Jack Grealish coming in. As you know, of course, he started against Leeds alongside Mahrez. And that man, 2 goals against Leeds. He said he should have had 5. Will he get a hat-trick today? Am I chancing it there? Who knows? Erling Haaland leads the starting 11. As we move to our bench, we've got Stefan Ortega, Kyle Walker, Calvin Phillips, Joao Cancelo, Ilkay Gundogan. Our World Cup winner is in the squad. Julian Alvarez on the bench alongside Gomez, Phil Foden and Cole Palmer. David James, any surprises there for you in the starting 11, or was that more or less kind of what you were thinking Pep would go for?
No surprises really. I mean, as Shaun said, with regards to the performance against Leeds in particular, one change there. Actually, no. I'll take that back. There is one surprise, only because we have the full complement available, and that's Rico Lewis staying in the starting lineup. Yes. But I'm not surprised by his performances because he deserves it.
Yes.
But I think I'm surprised that we kind of thought it might just be a couple of games here. The lads will get up to speed and then go back to the bench. But I'm happily surprised.
Yeah. I mean, and how can we overstate just how good he's been to keep that starting 11? Joao Cancelo on the bench, as we know, fit, also played in the World Cup. But you see the way he drops into midfield, and I think we said it on the show a couple shows ago. It looks like he's been playing in this team 2-3 years. How hard is that to say that he's only 18?
That's the thing. That game against Liverpool, he looked like he'd been in this team all season, whatever. Then to go and follow it up with the Leeds game and do exactly the same thing, you're looking at a player who is ready for the first team. And if you're Pep and your teammates, you're going, put him in. Not a problem. We trust him. We think he can do it, and he is doing it. So.
Yeah. Fair play to him.
Days,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, as we know, Pep doesn't just give out gimmies. You have to earn your place, and if you're playing, it's because he thinks you deserve to play. You coach, and you see a lot of our academy players.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference? Well, I mean, they're all of the best of the best, but to see Rico Lewis at 17 join the squad, can you see them players that are just maybe that that little bit special, your Cole Palmers, your Phil Fodens.
Yeah, you do see it, but it's another thing when you go across and you then train with the first team, because the level goes up, then another 2 or 3 levels, the pace of it, the quality, in possession, out of possession. So yeah, there's an abundance of quality that we have at the academy. But in reference to Lewis, I watch him and he goes into those little pockets, and he's played the game like he's a seasoned pro. He's going in these areas and he's got a player to his right, to his left, one behind him. He's scanning, he's looking. Oh, I need to take one touch. He just bounces it off. Second time it comes, he's taking a touch, drawing them all in, which means it's creating spaces where they've just left, bouncing it, rolling it out, and then we're going again. And I'm sitting there thinking, this kid's 17 and he's a fullback and he's going into areas where the players coming from behind, and he just looks so comfortable. And when I saw Cancelo sort of go and play into that role, and I thought, this is a whole new position. And I'm now seeing this kid go in there. He does it slightly deeper, because Cancelo does it almost on the edge of the box, where he comes in and becomes like a number 10. But he's doing it in the midfield area, which is another sort of element in how the game could be played. And so far, I mean, he's been absolutely brilliant. And I agree with James in terms of him being in the team or staying in the team. I actually thought, okay, he'll get a few games and then he'll revert back to Walker, etc. But the kid's just been brilliant. And
he's holding his place indeed.
Yeah.
And for us City fans, Phil, I mean, we've got Cole Palmer and Phil Foden on the bench. We know Rico Lewis, also a City fan. James McAtee scored 2 in 2 recently at Sheffield on loan. It's so great for us, isn't it? And I think it makes it extra special when we know they've come through the academy and they are City fans, and now we're reaping the rewards of the investment that we've put into building up our youth.
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously you're always wanting City to do well, and whichever player it is, you want them to do well. But I think when it's one of your own, you're just that little bit extra invested in it. And I think from the point of view of a fan, seeing all these guys come through the academy speaks volumes of where the club's at. On a day-to-day basis now. I know you guys would have a lot better idea than me than where the football's at, but as a fan, seeing the next bloke and the next bloke and this lad and that lad all coming through the academy and taking to first team football literally without missing a step, it's incredible to see, really, and it should be. We should appreciate it while we have it.
Absolutely, and fingers crossed there'll be more there paving the way, I guess. And 2 other ones that have been in incredible form, obviously scored a brace as well, and I think he ran the show again. Kevin De Bruyne and that Haaland partnership. I mean, Phil, it just seems to be getting better and better, doesn't it? I don't even feel it's reached its full potential yet.
It does now. These two are here to talk about the technical football things, because all I can tell you is that they're mustard. That's all I can say. I'm not telling you why. I can't run you through that, but I think they're top class. What do you two want to...
Well, we agree with you.
Also, by the way, the term mustard, that is what I wanted in the final show. But boys, as Phil said there, I mean, it's the partnership now we're really starting to see. It's in its infancy, but it's growing, and Kev's been well on it as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think the Leeds games was classic because Kevin didn't supply the assists in any of the goals, but what he did do is start the build-up play or get heavily involved in the build-up play for the goals. I like what Haaland said after the game, because we did the analysis. He scored 2, but he could have scored 5. But he admitted it himself. The thing is, he's not going to score every shot that he has. Yeah. But you've got a player who thinks he should score every time he has a shot. When you've got Kevin De Bruyne supplying him in the form he's in, he's going to get plenty of opportunity. Bernardo Silva comes on, another 5 assists I think he's had this season.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a goal-scoring machine, what do you want? People to give you the ball. Perfect.
And I think it was Alan Shearer that said it. He said a good striker, Shaun, in this City team should be scoring 20 goals a season. A very good striker is you're looking at 25 to 30. But he said a striker like Erling Haaland could get anywhere between 30 to 40, if not more. And that is what is possible. I mean, we're going to talk about in a bit, fastest to 20 league goals. It's an unprecedented rate he's scoring at.
It really is. I mean, the guy really is a serial scorer. It really is. And we were saying the other day that he scores a couple goals, but he could have 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And he's not going to score every opportunity. But I just love the fact he's created his own conversation. But he's also, I thought that we would have to he would have to adjust to us in terms of the team. But I've seen the adjustment in terms of us adjusting to him. Yeah. And I find that amazing, because I never thought that we would have to adjust our game to a individual player. And I just find that phenomenal that we realise we put in more crosses. He's always alert whenever that ball's wide with De Bruyne and the other qualities that we have with the other players, Mahrez, Foden, Bernardo, because we have such quality. But I just can't wait to see where it ends with him, because he's scoring more goals than games.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It really is.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
It is.
Can I just point out something about Jack Grealish in these 2 assists? Because in the first half, Jack Grealish had 3 chances, half chances.
Yeah.
And it would have been so easy for him to try and score.
Yes.
But instead gives it to the man who he knows will score.
And a quick mention of bringing in Jack and Mahrez. Obviously, I think Mahrez, and he'll say himself, he had a slow start to the year, but they've kept their places, and actually they seem to be hitting a bit of form as well, Phil.
Yeah, definitely. To be honest with you, at the top end of sport, I think it's really, really hard to keep that sort of performance always going up. You will have dips, you will have troughs, but what makes the best is how quickly they can come out of that and get back to firing. So, we've seen them in fits and starts this season, but I've got no doubt that sooner or later they'll be back to their best.
Yeah, absolutely. What one player as well, surprising to see in the squad, only because I think he only returned to training a couple of days ago. Manchester City now have a World Cup winner in their squad in the form of Julian Alvarez, and there's some beautiful images here of him returning to training. Surprised to see him. I mean, Phil, I'm going to come to you first in this. Obviously, you're a World Cup winner. You're a World Cup winner. And we'll get into that more a little bit later. But what? Coming back into them, when you're going to play for Lancashire, of course, around the world, individually, how does it feel to know that you have won on the world stage with your country?
It's pretty incredible. I think it's a lot more short-lived than people realise. I'll tell you that now. You have your night, you enjoy it, but then, you have to be straight back playing the next week or the week after, and you've got to be straight back to your best. There's no resting on your laurels because you've won a World Cup. Next time, it just doesn't work like that. So I think it's a lot more short-lived than people think. You don't get to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm winning for too long." No, because I tell you what, the game will pull you straight back down quicker than you know.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the professionalism comes into it as well, isn't it? You can't get caught up in that. If you want to carry on growing, and as Julian probably said himself, that he wants to be better and he wants to improve, he has to turn his attention straight back to City, and great to see him in the squad, Shaun.
Yeah, he'd have to again turn his attention straight to City. The interesting thing is that the players will be looking and training and saying, like, here's a World Cup winner. I think it'll motivate them, and he would also be motivated to be like, yeah, I've won the World Cup. It's interesting because this would depend on his character. Does the dynamic shift with him and Haaland? Because Haaland is scoring at an unbelievable rate. Mm-hmm. He is the man in terms of scoring the goals. And I always felt that when he plays, he brings an energy, he brings a tenacity, he brings a pressing. And when will he get that moment to shine? His moment is headed in the World Cup, but people don't see him the same as Haaland, I suppose, because Haaland is scoring all the goals.
Yes.
Whereas I'm looking and thinking, this guy works hard, unbelievably hard, and probably doesn't get some of the goals he should get at the end of it.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see how, I imagine, because Pep and being at the head of it, I think everything would just continue on very smooth because it's proper order within his house.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what as well, it's worth saying again, unbelievable transfer business from Cheeky. Haaland and Alvarez, link around 65 million. Absolutely unbelievable. Quick word on Bernardo Silva. I'm going to bring you the Everton team news in just a second, but he's the only change, brings in Gundogan. Just what do you think the thinking is there? Obviously, we all love Bernardo and I love him on the pitch anytime, but why do you think Pep's brought him in for this game, David?
Because Pep can. I mean, he's got... And he has to balance. We were talking before we went on the show about the number of rotations Pep does during a season, the number of games that so many players get, and theoretically, given the bench, I mean, Alvarez is probably not one you would start with, but pretty much any one of those players could start in the starting lineup. And the fact that Rico Lewis has kept his place means a big plus for Rico, because that change wouldn't have been unexpected. But Bernardo, we need to see Bernardo getting on the assists.
Yes.
Setting up either KDB or preferably Haaland because he's my fantasy team.
Yes, agreed.
Or John Stones from a corner.
Well, have you got John Stones in as well? Oh gosh, okay. I had Cancelo in, but that's done well on the. That's going well on the bench as well, isn't it? And of course, as well, the running that Bernardo gives us as well is like 2 players on the pitch, isn't it? Okay, well, Everton are today's opponent, our last match of 2022, and of course they've been struggling slightly. We'll dig into that in a second. But Frank Lampard has chosen this as his starting 11. Pickford captains his side in goal. Then we have Patterson, Cody, Tarkowski and Godfrey. Mikalenko, Gay, Unana, and then a forward 3 of Iwobi, Damari Gray and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We're thinking they'll probably do a 3-5-2 there. Looking at the bench as well, you've got Begovic, Holgate, Michael Keane, McNeil, Decore, Morpay, Coleman, Ben Davis and Vin Gray there. Before digging into the actual 11, it's been tough for Everton. I mean, they come here massively as underdogs. I've got here, no side has lost more Premier League away games in 2022 than Everton. We're unbeaten against Everton in our last 11 home games. Shaun, given the form that they're in, this is a very difficult proposition. And where do you think it has maybe just not been clicking for Everton? Because it's I don't think we're not stating the obvious when we say they could be looking at a relegation battle with their performances so far.
Yeah, well, when you say, where it's not happening, it's both ends. I mean, I'm looking at Cody, a quality centre-back who was just seen on the screen there coming in. He's one of a leader. I think there's going to need a lot of his leadership because his leadership experience to help keeping clean sheets, helping him being positive. We look at Calvert-Lewin as the attacker. Calvert-Lewin just coming in. It's going to be a lot of sort of expectation and pressure on him, but it's been both boxes in terms of defensively. They've not been able to keep clean sheets. They've not been able to score a great deal of goals. So, all of that stuff in between, Everton is a team, they work hard and they grind and graft, but it's in the boxes, and that's where they let themselves down. And sadly, I think today will be another game where it'll be disappointing for them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned him there, Calvert-Lewin. He's been a massive miss. They've struggled to score goals, David. So how important is he going to be if for Everton today if they want to try and get a result?
Well, I mean, without stating the obvious, if your sort of the best goal-scoring chance gets the opportunities, then he could score goals. I mean, the problem is, and it's slightly misleading Everton's position because they don't concede a lot of goals; they just concede frequently. So, as Shaun said, don't keep many clean sheets, but it's not like they're getting beat 4 and 5 every week.
Yeah.
I think they've only scored 12 goals this season, so goal scoring is a problem. It is correct, both ends. With regards to Calvert-Lewin, I'm thinking of Rodrigo in the Leeds game. You've got a dangerous forward, but if you don't get the ball to him, then he's not going to cause you any problems at all. And as we saw against Leeds, Rodrigo never got the ball. Yeah. So if today pans out the same way, Calvert-Lewin will be up top, watching a lot of football, not really involved at all. And that's what you can hope for as a City fan.
I guess as well, from looking at that sporting point of view as well, Phil, Everton do come into it as underdogs, but I guess there's going to be teams that you'll play, international and club level, where you think we are better, but you can't let your concentration slip because there's still a top opponent, and City won't be coming into this thinking Everton are going to be a walkover given current form.
Oh no, you can't. I mean, from Everton's point of view, you can have one of two mentalities really. You can have a look around at where you are and say, oh, we're up against it here, or you can sort of add that wounded tiger mentality where you don't care. You write it off in your own head and you free yourself up. So I think we do have to be wary of that today because there's every chance one of these games it will. They've got Calvert-Lewin back. That might be a different feel in their squad for them. They might feel like something's going to click today. So it's very important that we keep them at bay. But we've been doing that so well recently at Leeds, and I think your point's a great one. Yeah, you can have these players on the pitch, but if they don't get enough of the ball,
there's not much they can do, not at all. And as we know, sorry, Shaun, you want to?
Yeah, I was thinking, in regards to Calvert-Lewin, I think there's going to be a feel-good factor about Everton. Him coming in, there's a lot of optimism that he's going to be the saviour and help them score goals. And I think for them, it's important that opening 20 minutes that they use that optimism to create chances and get their fans in a belief state. But from City's point of view, I think City will just smother them. The minute they win the ball, City will win it back, and that opening 20 minutes is important from Everton's point of view, because if they can create some belief from that, then the fans will be thinking, perhaps there's a chance we could sneak a goal here, or we can catch a counter attack or a set piece. But for City, I can see City smothering them early doors, and that belief just dissipates real quickly.
Pretty quick.
Then they're like, well, we've got who else we really want to come back.
Yeah.
So I think that opening 20 minutes is a big part from their point of view.
It's going to be crucial. Well, that opening 20 minutes take place from 3 o'clock. It will be taking place on this pitch behind us. City take on Everton in our final game of the year here at the Etihad. Now, on our commentary team today, you'll know one name, Alistair Mann, and you'll know the second name, Andy Morrison, will be guiding you through the game. You can get that on the Manchester City app. So wherever you're watching, if you want to enjoy our commentary, check it out on there, wherever you are around the world. And we can now get their thoughts of this game that's taking place at 3 o'clock.
Welcome to Pitchside. Myself and Andy Morrison will be bringing you the commentary when we come to kick off in a few minutes' time. But we've had a few minutes to digest the lineup today. Andy, what's the first thing that catches your eye?
I think it's a familiar, it's similar to Leeds, all but one change. Shows that the manager's happy, content with the way they're playing. I think it's their performances as well. I think if the performance wasn't there, we might see some changes. If it was a little bit flat, we might see him freshen it up. But he's not. Like I say, Bernardo coming in for Gundogan. Rico Lewis staying in, which is great to see. And why not? If we get past the age, then the last 2 performances have been incredible. So rightly in the team, and looking forward again to see him today.
What does it say about Rico Lewis that he can have someone like Joao Cancelo on the bench today?
Well, it shows he's in form, and it shows the manager's got incredible faith in him. Because, we spoke about this before, so young, and, to be able to do it again and again, we'll find out. I mean, been 2 back-to-back performances, which were magnificent in Liverpool and Leeds. Going into today, it's another one. Can he go again? And those are the challenges you'll find of a youngster. Can he go again? And the way the team are playing, why not?
The other thing I have to mention, I tried to do an interview without Haaland coming up in the conversation, but he's now hit 20 Premier League goals for the season. That's 8 more than Everton have scored all campaign. Can he keep doing that?
I think if we keep producing opportunities, he seems to make his own opportunities as well. The De Bruyne finds De Bruyne puts the ball into areas, and he's not really picking Haaland out at times, and it's for him to get. And they got a bit of a chemistry going on, and it's magical to watch. But it's the first name I look for. As soon as that team come out today, is Haaland playing? Because just the way he is, and there's an energy, and there's a desire, there's an honesty, there's a humbleness in the way he plays football, and it's so refreshing to see somebody who's a global superstar, but yet so humble in the way he approaches football.
And of course, on the bench, Julian Alvarez. That must be a major boost for everyone.
Yeah, brilliant. World Cup winner. I bet he's probably 7-8 foot tall when he came back to the, and it would have been great. The players, I'm sure, would have made a fuss of him. You got a World Cup winner in your squad, and he was magnificent in the tournament. And it's great to see him on the bench.
Just one final thought. We're coming to the end of 2022. What would be your outstanding image, your memory of the year?
It's a strange one, Ali, and I did a game with you, and there was something magical about it at the end when we played Fulham. And we had 70 minutes with 10 men, and we dominated the ball. The courage and the character that the players showed that day. I thought the reaction from the manager afterwards, when he went to all corners of the stands and applauded everyone, for me it was a special moment, because for a team you normally go backs to the wall and try and counter. They kept the ball, and they ended up with 70% possession with 10 men. And we celebrated the goal. I celebrated the goal with you, and it was fantastic with a penalty win. Haaland talked about being the most nervous he's ever been in a penalty. There's been loads of moments, but for me, that was a special day.
Well, Andy and myself will hopefully bring you some more special moments. If we don't today, I'm sure we will. What am I talking about? All the best for 23.
Thank you, Alistair Mann, and thank you, Andy Morrison. They were pitchside, and they'll be commentating on our game against Everton, which you can get on the City app. Now, you'll see in the middle of Shaun Goater and David James is England and Lancashire cricketer Phil Salt. Of course, won the Winter World Cup. And I want to begin there, Phil. I mean, what was that whole experience like? And there's not many, any sports people that can say that they brought a World Cup home. It must be an amazing feeling to be a part of that team.
Yeah, it was. It was. First thing I think about it when I look back, and it was quite lengthy. We went to Pakistan. We had 7 games there. and then we went to Australia, and pretty quickly we were playing them in a series, a sort of warm up, and then we had the whole World Cup, which obviously took a long time. So I look back and I think that was a really long period of time, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Beat India by 10 wickets at Adelaide, that was really special. And obviously winning it, but we had our downs as well, getting beat by Ireland in Melbourne. So I look back on it and that's what I think of, the ups and the downs, but a hell of a trophy at the end.
I mean, you mentioned as well those ups and downs. How important is it to try and keep that? I guess on the mental side of it, keeping a constant and not getting too caught up in the highs and not getting too caught up in the lows. Is that like a team thing? I guess to keep that kind of balance.
Yeah, I think all good sides do that. It's very easy to say it, but then
of course
it's hard not to go back to your hotel room and be pretty dark after losing to Ireland. Yeah. It's just one of those things. We shouldn't have allowed that to happen. But you always say you want to keep level, not too high, not too low, but sometimes you do ride the wave.
Yeah, and in that downtime amongst the team, what sort of stuff are you guys getting up to? As you say, it's such you were away for kind of so long, really. That downtime is important. What sort of stuff is it that you guys get up to?
Mainly golf. A lot
Nice.
of the boys like playing golf, so most rest days will have golf involved in them. Normally, if we're somewhere quite interesting, we'll go out, see something new that we've not seen before, but I'd say that the sort of activity of choice for all the lads is 100%
golf.
Yeah.
Well, Shaun, are you a golfer, Shaun?
No, but if you ever need a caddy as a World Cup winner, I'll go in the hedges, I'll find them for you. Yeah?
You'll be in the pond.
I'll be in the pond.
David, do you like a bit of golf, David?
I play charity golf.
Okay, nice.
Longest drive is my favourite if I hit the fairway.
Okay.
But do you ever been in the golf club around when you're waiting to hit it?
Not really, no.
I did that and snapped my golf club. So
Oh no.
Wow. Tell you what, there you go.
impressive.
It was interesting as well, Phil, because we were talking off camera, and what you think you don't kind of realise is it's incessant really for you as cricketers. I mean, you were saying you kind of hit 3-4 months a year, but then you're straight back to it going around the world. That's got to be difficult in itself, I don't really quite realise the commitment and the sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah, it can be hard maintaining a balance of just your general day-to-day life when you're away all the time. Although you're in Australia and everyone says, oh, Australia, it's a lovely place, the rest of it, you're there to do a job, you're there, to do a service basically. So it can be quite grinding from that point of view sometimes, but it's key you just enjoy it and enjoy the journey, because one day it'll all be done.
Yeah, and it goes very, very quickly, doesn't it? Looking to City then, of course, a big City fan as well, and I know you mentioned obviously just due to maybe winning a World Cup might be why you've not seen many games, but what's one of your earliest memories of being a City fan?
My earliest memory of being a City fan would have been Sheffield United at home. Would have been 2000 or 2001, around that time, 0-0. I remember Richard Dunn making a tackle. My dad shouted well in, but the ball went out. And at that age, that really baffled me. So that'd be one of... To be fair, it still baffles me now. Yeah. But that was one of my earliest City memories. Yeah.
Beautiful. And within the England cricket team, are you I always find the fellow City fans are hard to come by. Are there any other Blues within the squad, or are you the one flying the flag?
No, Joss is a City fan as well, but he keeps it quite quiet. The boys get into him a bit, but Joss is a City fan as well.
Okay, nice. So at least there's two of you there flying the flag.
Yeah, there's two of us, but as soon as it gets a bit niggly with United fans or whatever, Joss ducks out. He doesn't want anything to do with that.
Sheffield United fans in the England cricket.
I tell you what, there'd be more Sheffield United fans than there would be United fans. Yeah,
That's nice to hear.
yeah, it's brilliant. Mega.
I tell you what, they're having a great season as well, Sheffield as well, mate. Definitely doing that push. And just finally, I know you've been struggling with a slight injury as well. So kind of how is that kind of going, and back to full fitness or?
Yeah, back to full fitness now, hopefully. Saw the specialist last week, and he said that if it keeps progressing the way it is, then hopefully I should be fit by the middle of Jan, which is the target date. Fly out on the 3rd, so hopefully it all goes to plan until then. Managed to dodge surgery on it, and it's all right now. It's all looking up.
Buzzing, that's what we like to hear. Well, of course, we're wishing you that full speedy recovery, and of course for the rest of the season as well, Phil, and massive congratulations again. It is, I mean, Shaun, we'd all like to say we've won a World Cup, wouldn't we?
Yeah, so the closest I got to was actually doing the CONCACAF draw. So I stood around that bad boy. Another photo.
Well, let's speak about someone who definitely I know would have liked to have been at the World Cup, and he definitely said that he was slightly disappointed not to be there. But what it meant was that man got a lovely holiday and recharged the batteries for this next part of the season against Erling Haaland. And we know he's been breaking records left, right, and centre. Well, he broke another one in the game against Leeds, which means that he is the fastest player to reach 20 Premier League goals in just 14 games. David, we were talking about at the start of the show, have we run out of superlatives and things to say about this man?
Well, I mean, let's be right. I think
Be some more today.
I think a lot of people got a little bit sycophantical because of his start, understandably, because he'd been so fantastic. I have to err one side of caution here.
Always.
Statistically, the league's leading goal scorer does not win the league.
Really?
I think Van Persie was the last player to do it.
Interesting. Oh yeah, because Kane's won it a few times, hasn't he?
Yeah. So it's one of these things. What do you want? The top goal scorer or win the league? It's not to say that Man City can't do both, of course. But what happens is, and he is the focal point of Man City's attacks. 20 goals, 3 assists. Everything good seems to happen with either starting with Kevin De Bruyne, but ultimately ending up with him. But when you look at Arsenal's position, there comes a point where it's fine if Haaland's scoring and Man City are winning.
Yes.
But if Man City are going to be dependent on Haaland scoring to win, Brentford, for example, then there's a problem with the setup. So Man City really, keep scoring, fine, but he must keep winning. And if he doesn't score and City win, that's a better outcome than Erling Haaland breaking records.
I know this is going to be mad to say, Phil, but we saw in Leeds, I mean, he says he should have had 5 goals. So he's still obviously, dare I say, not quite, well, it feels like he's not even reached his full potential yet. Would you agree with that? Do you still think we've got even more to see from him?
I think in theory he could have had 5 goals.
Yeah.
If he took every chance. But I think he's almost got to come to terms with the fact that he's not going to score every chance.
Yes.
I think that is football. So, as much as he'll have high standards for himself and he'll want to score every time he gets the chance, I feel like, I think he's still doing pretty well.
Yeah, he really is.
Pretty well. I think he's still doing all right.
He's doing all right. He could be better.
No, he could be better, could be worse. He's okay, isn't he?
And he's just scoring there against the World Cup winner.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What time he had?
Didn't do that in Qatar, did he?
No, he didn't. Sean, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah,
as well,
what I like about him is that he's actually said he had a dream of scoring 5 goals and touching the ball 5 times. And in all my time of having dreams and played the game, I never thought of the game that way.
Yes.
Because we all think, well, you want to touch your ball as many times as possible, and that each touch can be a good touch, whether you keep possession, you score a goal, or it's a good pass. But he just put a whole different spin on it and just went, he's had this dream to touch the ball 5 times and score 5 goals. And I just went, whoa. And then when you think about it, that's an unbelievable game.
Yeah.
I don't need to touch the ball 20 times. I just touch it 5 times, score 5 goals. And I just went, wow. So it shows you the mindset of him, that he's a goal scorer. He wants to score goals.
Yes.
He's not too concerned about the build-up stuff. I think Pep, on the other hand, is more concerned with that, wants him to get involved in that, do great at that, because that'll get him these situations here to be in on goal.
Yes.
And put them away. But I just found that an interesting take.
It is, and again, that's also as well that obsession that we see. Kevin De Bruyne was talking about. His dad speaks about the obsession he has with scoring goals.
The danger he's got, because if you go back to the Leeds game, which is perfect because it was the last game and the one that he should have scored 5 in his mind. The first one, the ball held up in the wind, so what was going to be a little chip over the keeper turned into a very difficult shot. Second one, I think he went to take a second little poke on it, didn't quite make contact, ends up under his feet.
Yeah.
The third one was possibly the easier one of the 3. If he literally went home and thought, I should have scored 5 goals, then you could end up tearing yourself apart.
Yes.
Rather than going, right, there's 3 times, let me break it down. And maybe he said the comment straight after the game, so he didn't have time to analyse it. But if you start ripping yourself apart for stuff which isn't your fault, you could end up the season sitting in someone's chair having a long conversation.
Because you need to make sure you keep level-headed.
I scored 2 and there was 3 opportunities, right? Fine.
Yeah, and also just looking from a striker's point of view, Shaun, we had Brian Barry Murphy on, who of course coach of our EDS. One of the things he singled out about his game, because you can single out every part of his game really, though, was saying his movement is more or less, you can't defend against it. It's that good. Like he says, even when the lads go over to train with our first team, you've never come across a striker like Haaland. You almost have to try and make training sessions emulate him. He's that unique with his movement and style.
He is, and his specialty is that first 2-3 yards. I'm even thinking back to the game we had against Girona. Like there, I look at that situation there, and I was quick, but I think I can't get there. One, because he's 6'5". He's tall, and he's also got lightning pace off the mark, which makes him. This is what makes him athletically like just top, because there isn't many that can get on the end of that. That you're talking every bit of him there to get on and make contact with that. He's phenomenal for me in terms of as a striker, wanting to get on the end of the balls. And you talk about his movement. I was going to say about Girona game. Some may have seen it, but he just nudges the defender to create himself space, because the defender was running towards the goal line, and he just sort of pauses, and the ball gets pulled back. So sometimes he does a movement where the defenders can't see, and sometimes he'll do a movement which allows, I need you to get out of that space, which is a little nudge for a pullback, and he's there. But he knows where to be, and that's the key bit.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Shaun. And as well for us fantasy managers, I'm sure he's basically everyone's captain. We'll be hoping for... producer Darryl behind the camera there. You haven't even got Haaland in the team. Interesting. Wow, indeed.
What a way to start off 2022.
I know. Remember as well, speaking of fantasy football, you can join our MatchDay League. We've got all the City fans in there, so if you enjoy the show and you're playing fantasy football, come get involved in that. Now, to something that was really sad in the world of football this week. On Thursday, we lost one of our footballing greats, one of the world's greatest, in the form of Pelé, who died at the age of 82. On behalf of everyone at Manchester City, we want to express all our love and condolences to Pelé and his family, and rightly so. The footballing world have just been talking about the man that did so much for the game. I believe Pep said that football is football because of players like that, and we can hear his tribute now to Pelé.
I think on behalf of Manchester City, our biggest condolences for his family and friends, and football is football. Thanks for this type of people, players, human beings. So I think Neymar said a great sentence that before number 10 it was just a number, and after him it became something like something special. Every player, a top player, wanna wear the number 10 in own team. So what he has done for football is, it's there and always will remain.
Saw a brilliant video as well, actually, and it was showing all the skills that we see now in the game, from Xavi to Iniesta to Cruyff to seeing our players do it. But actually, you see, Pelé was the first to pull out some of these tricks. Really pioneered the game, didn't he, Shaun?
Oh yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I probably seen that same one where it's just showing him doing step overs and Cruyff turns and all these different turns and skills. Back at a time where, when you saw bits of it, you thought, like, this guy is unbelievable, like doing step overs and scoring all different types of goals, bicycle kicks. I remember seeing him score bicycle. I don't know how young I was, but I'm in my bedroom trying overhead kicks on the bed. You know what I mean? Like, my mom says, "What are you doing? Stop all that noise when you trying overhead kicks." I mean, unbelievable. I couldn't speak highly enough. I mean, the influence he's had on the game, absolute global icon.
Absolutely, and you never hear a bad word said about him, as far as, well, obviously being so recognisable. He's wanted everywhere he goes, and I think there's been a surge of selfies and pictures with him because he said yes to everyone. And one man who knows him that little bit better than most people is our very own Mike Summer, because they spent 6 weeks together shooting the film Escape to Victory. And of course, who better to pay tribute to him and tell us a little bit more about the icon and legend than Mr. Mike Summerby.
When you talk about the greatest footballer ever, he was the greatest footballer ever. And I was privileged to watch him play as a young boy when he was 17 years of age, and then I was privileged to meet him in the film Escape to Victory. And he was such a very genuine man, very modest person. I always think that great players and great personalities are always very modest, and he was a very modest person, and a very nice man. And he was. In Budapest, when we made Escape to Victory, all of us got very close together because, we had to make this film a success. And I think he took my wife out for lunch one day, and they had some lunch together. That's the type of person he was. He was such a nice, genuine man. Yeah. But to be in his company and to be able to, be in a film, even though it was a movie, not a real football match, to play alongside Pelé, to play with him was unbelievable.
And you said, as a 17-year-old, did you know that, or did the world know that something very special had come on the scene when you first heard and saw him play?
It was because I saw him play on the television in the World Cup for Brazil as a young boy. I was 17. I don't know where it was, in Sweden or somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was the World Cup, but it was just a different class. He's always got time on the ball. All great footballers have time on the ball, and they create that time because they're so good. Pelé was unbelievable. To be able to say that I was actually kicked off in a game in Budapest, even though it was a film with Pelé, was something you could live with forever, and I will do.
And did you have any little knockabouts during film, between filming?
We did.
How good was he there?
It was a tennis ball, and I'm struggling with Russell Osman, myself, and one or two of the lads, John Walker, and that were there, and he was just different class.
Yeah.
The ball to him was so precious. He never gave it away. His control was superb. He was just a great player.
And when was the last time you saw him? Did you manage to keep in touch over the years, Mike?
It's difficult when with a person like him. The last time I saw him was in Manchester. He came to Manchester to do either a book signing or something like that. And I saw him there. I went along to see him there, and he remembered me, which is something. And he was just a nice man. You don't create something like Pelé. He's there. He was born to be what he was. He was a great ambassador for the game of football. He made football what it is today. Simple as that.
Brilliant. He'll be greatly missed, sorely missed, won't he, Mike?
He will be. He'll be greatly missed. Not only as a footballer, as the greatest footballer you'll ever see in your lifetime, but also as a person as well. He was a very modest, very nice man. You'd be a little bit overawed saying you've got to make Pelé, and then when you meet him, he makes you feel so relaxed, and that's the way he was. He was a gentleman, the greatest footballer you'll ever see in your lifetime, and a nice man.
Some lovely tributes to the legend there that is Pelé. Again, all our thoughts and wishes are with Pelé and his family, and we know his legacy will live on throughout the game for years to come. Now, gentlemen, we are at the final game of the year, so we thought, what better moment to look back on some of our favourite goals of the year, okay? So we've shortlisted, of course, we know City scored quite a lot of goals, so the team have worked very hard to try and truncate it to 4, and we're going to ask you, our expert panel, to put them in order from number 1 to number 4. We'll go 4 to 1, though. We'll finish with your favourites. So let's take a look at the 4 goals that made our shortlist from 2022. This first one is this absolute rocket from Rodri against Aston Villa. Lovely finish there. Tucked it away beautifully.
It was against the World Cup goalkeeper, wasn't it?
I think it was indeed, yeah. He's popping up quite a lot in the show, isn't it?
That goes as number 1 then, doesn't it?
So that was Rodri there against Villa, and we had a little word on him, but this goals he's added to his game a little bit as well, hasn't he, over this last season or two, David, as well. He's popping up with a few more.
Yeah, I mean, there's me 5 minutes ago talking about Haaland or the need for other goal scorers, and like you say, Rodri is stepping up, but
then in comes that one from De Bruyne.
Yeah, Rodri. We can put it number 4 already.
Right, there's still a couple more to go. I mean, there's not a finer sight is the Phil seeing De Bruyne charging forward and bury the ball like that.
Oh no! The thing is, with these players, they're so good. You never know what they're going to do. So you're genuinely on the edge of the seat whenever we're carrying the ball forward. brilliant to watch.
Absolutely stunning. He does love a goal against Chelsea. I still remember that one from a couple of seasons ago, winning 1-0 at Stamford Bridge. That was a big moment, I think, in the title race that year. He does always step up. All right, next goal we're going to look at is Mr. Phil Foden. He's been warming up on the pitch behind us, but it was this one for a little derby goal. We've got to have one in there, haven't we? It was his second goal of his hat trick. We know there was another hat trick in that game as well. Sorry, United. But gosh, we just think that the sky's the limit for Phil Foden, don't we, Shaun?
Yes, I mean, he knows where to be, innit? He's in the back door there, sliding that one in. Right place, right time. Haaland with the assist. No one really talks about him assisting as well. I would put that probably third. But yeah, United goes back to be in there. So well done, producers, on that one.
Final goal here as well was Cancelo against Nottingham Forest. Oof, pick that one out. Guys, by the way, as well, we're going to be choosing here in the studio, but we've got a vote happening live on Twitch. If you go on Man City's Twitter account, you can cast your vote. I'll tell you where the results are at shortly after we've decided here in the studio. But that was goal number 4, Cancelo, picking that one out against Nottingham Forest. So we've seen 4 goals there, gents.
Yeah, I think
deliberations amongst yourselves. Do you want to start at 4 or go at number 1?
For me, the number 1 would still be Rodri. Rodri would be.
Why? And what reasoning?
Because there was a big goal and a big game at the right time.
Yes. Okay.
At the right time.
Nice. Okay.
And those other goals, although they're good goals, Rodri is just a big goal.
Just important. Yeah. And it was just a beautifully taken finish as well. David, I'm seeing. What are you thinking now? Where's number 1 for you?
I like Cancelo. Well, I don't know. Actually, no, Cancelo could go number 3. I've got Rodri as number 4.
Okay.
That's 4.
Just for the goal.
The goalkeeper's always different.
I have Rodri at 4 as well.
Yeah, Rodri is 4.
Okay.
Goalkeepers, wicket keepers, batsmen, aren't they in the same category?
Cancelo's, I think, was expert. Just quickly going back to the World Cup, when Mbappe scored against Poland.
Yes.
Same kind of thing, waited for the defender, then whips it across, giving the goalkeeper very little chance. The only problem is Cancelo had the most shots than anybody in the Man City team, so it was about time he scored one.
He popped one up.
So I'm popping him number 3.
You're popping him number 3, okay.
Just because it was one of 84, I think.
Who would you have at number 1?
KDB.
KDB, number 1 for you, yeah?
Although the one against United looked really good.
It was a beautiful
Phil Foden could have scored with his
with his head rolled in. Who's number 1 for you, Phil?
Foden.
Foden.
Have to be Foden.
Because it's
Derby.
That's it. Get the rest of them up.
Close second then. Who would you have had it second then?
Rodri, I like the Rodri one. I would say De Bruyne, because he's waiting for the pass. The pass isn't quite on, and he doesn't really have an option. And then he just goes, well, I'll pass it in the corner.
Yeah.
So he just creates it out of nothing. The accuracy, and keeper could do nothing about it. So technically that was high skill. It was better skill than Rodri's, but because of the timing of Rodri's goals, the importance of Rodri's goal, that's why I have Rodri's.
Put that to number 1. What about second for you, Phil?
De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Foden, De Bruyne.
You sure not Foden.
De Bruyne.
And I would have had Rodri at 4.
And so Cancelo at 3. Yeah. So your 4 would be at the moment? It would have been Cancelo.
No. 4th Rodri.
4th Rodri.
3rd Cancelo.
Sorry, 3rd Cancelo.
2nd. I'm trying to remember. Phil.
Yeah.
And then 1st KDB.
KDB. Lovely.
So technically, I think if you add up the coefficient there, then KDB's winning.
Well, and then what were your 4 again then? Sorry, Shaun.
I had Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne. I had, I would say, Cancelo 3rd,
and
I would say Phil 4th. Because I think the field goal is a simple tap in. It's in the right place, great ball. It's a simple tap in.
But who was it against?
I know. Yes. But for me, is big goals in big games at the right time. Rodri's goal for me was so important. It changed the trajectory of our game, the importance. It gave us momentum, all of that stuff.
Nice. Good
all
reason.
of that in that goal.
Oh, everything in it. It had everything. It was very interesting because the online vote, as I say, get on the Manchester City Twitter page at Man City. You can cast your vote. The tie for the top 2 between our fans is Rodri and De Bruyne. So that's very tight at the moment.
You know what I mean?
You get it right here in the studio.
You got me. What's happening?
Always got that understanding, Sean. You know what I mean?
Everyone at home, everyone in Sean's house watching the game.
That's it. Hey, keep voting at home. Keep voting.
Well, listen, we're going to a quick recap on team news. If you've just joined us here on MatchDay Live, as always, thank you for joining us. We make the show for you, and we love having you a part of it. We're going to look at your WhatsApp questions in a second, but as you can see on the bottom, Ederson in goal, Rico Lewis keeps his spot, unchanged back four there from Leeds with John Stones, Parker and Akanji. Nathan Aki, who I thought was brilliant against Leeds, keeps his spot at left back. Rodrigo has been one of my players of the year, is holding alongside Kevin De Bruyne, and the only change, Bernardo Silva comes back into the 11 for Ilkay Gundogan, and then a forward three of Riyad Mahrez alongside Erling Haaland and Jack Grealish over on the left. But WhatsApp is where we're going to turn to next. I get all your questions in on here, and sometimes you have so much in the show it's hard to get through them all, but we've got time to get through a few now. I'm going to bring it with this brilliant one from Josh on WhatsApp, which says, do you think more of the England squad should be involved? Example, Phil Foden, Kyle Walker. Foden not really been in the starting 11 since returning. David, what are your thoughts on that? Great question from Josh.
Yeah, I'm a big Phil Foden fan, so I'd have him in every time. But I go back to the point that Pep rotates it during the season anyway, irrespective of major tournaments, and therefore he just feels that what he's got, obviously he feels what he's got at the moment is good enough. And I think in some ways, because people talk about the physicality, and Phil, I think you touched on this already, the physicality of playing in a tournament, and whether you're physically tired going back into the club, or whether mentally you can just have an extra little bit of time just to recuperate or get back into the swing of things, because people forget the mental side of it. You see the likes of Kyle Walker running up and down, physically he looks fit, but he could just a little bit be thinking, maybe if I'd have scored 3 goals we would have beaten France.
Still the kind of thing, and when you bring in that, I mean, what do you kind of have to do? I mean, you have to do it, obviously gone from international, and then if you're coming back to the team, is that switch difficult? How do you go about recentering and focusing?
For myself, I make sure that I'm bringing the same energy
that
I was taking to international duty to my club side, and that's as simple as it gets. And if I know that I can't bring the same energy, then I know there's time for a little break. It's time to have a chat with the coaches and say, listen,
just need a bit of time off.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really interesting. Sean, I wanted to ask you, this is from Brad on WhatsApp. With just one change, can you describe the differences Bernardo will bring to the squad? Bernardo and Ilkay. Of course, Ilkay started against Leeds, brings Bernardo in. What are some of the differences Bernardo will bring?
Bernardo brings you energy. He brings you the ability to keep the ball. So, we can essentially kill him with 1,000 passes, because Bernardo being in there, he's like a fly sort of thing. He's one of them where you're like, get away. They can never really get the ball from him, because technically he's that good. He can protect the ball, he can dribble, and then out of possession, he's always one of those that's pressing and in your face. So he brings that energy. That'll be the qualities that he brings, along with being able to be a nuisance up in the final third, getting the odd goal, sometimes sliding players in for goals. Gundogan is more composed. He just has. He just seems more calmer.
Calmness personified.
Exactly. And he knows how to make the timing of his runs, where defenses take their eye or the eyes on the ball, and Gundogan sliding in, and all of a sudden he's just in that right space, finishing off chances. But also equally, he's good at keeping the ball. You're talking quality of quality. Brilliant question.
Really, really great question. And I think I remember as well saying, which I found really interesting, Kevin De Bruyne describing Gundogan almost a bit like David Silva. He says he's one of our players that can really dictate and control the tempo of a game, which, as we know, to Pep's style as well, is so key. Final question then from Lewis on WhatsApp. Of course, to you, Phil, this is coming to you. City's ambitions this season, do you think we can win the Champions League?
Well, obviously I'm going to say yes.
I'd like to hear.
What question is that?
Lewis. Yes. What kind of question is that? It does, we say it every year, but when it could feel like, was Haaland that missing piece probably for us to go that extra step we've not been before?
Yeah, potentially. But we'll only know come the end of the season. But right now, if I had to put a mark on one team, all the teams in Europe, it's us.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. It's the confidence we need going into 2023. Keep those coming in, because remember, we're back at half-time and then we'll be back at full-time, so I'll try and get a few more of those questions as we go. Not long before we hand over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison for commentary on the Manchester City app. So let's just kind of get some final thoughts from you guys. David, we spoke about Calvert-Lewin, but looking at the Everton team as well and our team, can you see any other key battles on the pitch today that are going to be instrumental in which way this game goes? Yeah,
I think, let's be right, this Everton team are full of Premier League players who on their day are capable of causing problems. I mean, Gray I'm a big fan of, Iwobi I'm a big fan of, Anana another one I'm a big fan of, and it's kind of, you just don't want any of these players to be playing up to their level. The combinations, I mean, we know what football's like. It just needs to be one spilt ball that someone picks up on, scores a goal, and all of a sudden you're trying to break down a really dogged defence with a 1-0 deficit. So, and England's number one, Jordan Pickford. So there's a team there that could cause problems.
Yes.
You haven't asked me what I think the score's going to be, so I'll wait till the other two have said.
We'll come to those predictions. Thank you. And Shaun, you mentioned at the start of the show, first 20 minutes is going to be key, but I guess as well, after those 20 minutes, we kind of want to be just carrying on and improving on the start to this kind of restart we've had.
Yeah, I'm imagining Pep in the dressing room actually saying to these boys, listen, in the opening 10, 15 minutes, let's get at them, because of their record in terms of they don't concede loads of goals, but they concede, so they can be frail, and they'll come with a bit of belief, like I said, because they got one or two players like Calvert-Lewin coming back into it. But if we can attack that early doors and create that frailty amongst them in terms of scoring an early goal, all of a sudden they don't look as compact or not as communicative, saying, "No, you come in, you drop here, you push out wide." It becomes, no one communicating. Our players getting in pockets, getting turned, sliding players in. So I think it's important, and I think Pep will be saying, get at them really early on and create some doubt around them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shaun. We can see here as well, we're just giving a special Etihad welcome to our World Cup winner. He's wearing that medal. I'm sure he's probably slept in it. Julian Alvarez gets a very special reception. Hang on, where's your World Cup medal here in the studio? I've had enough of that.
I've got to do it, ladies and gents.
Actually, damaged it a bit. Julian's got it on down there, but so beautiful to give our World Cup winner as well there a great welcome at the Etihad. So great to have him in the squad. Will he get on the pitch? We'll find out. Just a quick word from you, Phil, before predictions as well. United have won, I'm sad to say, which puts them now, obviously we've got the couple games in hand, 3 points behind us. As we get into this busy part of the season, we need to be picking up as many 3 points as we can, don't we, Phil?
Yeah, we do, and look, I think we're well positioned to do it. I'm not worried about United. To be honest, looking at the table, I think it's us and Arsenal.
Yeah.
So I think if we get 3 points today, that'll, give us a little bit of momentum going into the new year, and hopefully we keep rolling.
Absolutely. Right, well, before we bid you farewell till half-time, prediction time in the studio. David, I'm going to start with you.
Right, I'm torn between 1-0.
Oof.
Really scrappy, nice 1-0 win, or 5-0.
Nice.
I'll go for 5.
We'll go on there. Little New Year's treat. What about for you, Fel? Can you see this playing out?
I said 3-0 out there, so I've got to go with 3-0 again.
Love that. 3-0, another clean sheet. Shaun, baby?
Well, I'm going 4-0. I'm going for it. Funny, I had a little quick conversation with Paul Dickoff, and Paul was saying 5 or 6.
Okay.
That's what Paul was saying. But I'm saying 4. I feel I'm got it today, yeah.
Love that. Confident here in the studio. Well, listen, thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you, of course, to our guests, to Phil, to Shaun and to David James. We're back at half-time. We'll be with you at full-time as well. Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison have got your commentary on the City app. Enjoy the game. Come on, City.
The Blues have had yet another exceptional year and can bring the curtain down on 2022 by putting themselves within striking distance of of early season league leaders Arsenal. Victory this afternoon against Everton will cut the lead at the top down to 2 points, and if achieved will be an ideal way to complete 12 months, which began on New Year's Day with a dramatic late win at Arsenal and of course included that never to be forgotten title winning day